Welcome to Do Hard Things. My name is Mike Dowling, and I get to help companies build businesses in the cloud. Each episode, I'll introduce you to an inspiring company, leader, or message that just may help you understand how doing hard things will take you to a new level. Thank you for finding me, and let's get started. All right, welcome to another episode of Do Hard Things. My name is Mike Dowling. We like to do these episodes so that we can get a little bit of visibility behind the faces that are managing the logos that we work with. And today we are joined by Jason Cutrer. He's the CEO of SixNines IT, and he's got over 20 years of leadership experience in IT. And he came up with this concept in 2008 to come up with a partner business that could help companies with this transition to the cloud. Now, he came up with this idea while he was in Napa, California, working on a winery with some IT project. And he thought, wouldn't it be great to come up with a concept to do this full time? And I suspect that's why he now lives in Oakland, California, as a transplant from Austin, Texas. Without further ado, let me introduce Jason Cutrer. Thank you very much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, Mike. Really appreciate the opportunity to chat about SixNines and the industry overall and what we're doing jointly and in some areas we're focusing on. And, I really had the idea to create SixNines because my background is in infrastructure in IT. I've always had a passion for leveraging technology to solve problems and have always been entrepreneurial. And really the timing was right based on my experience in larger corporate environments. And I saw an opportunity to take that and make it pay off for myself and employees and other people. And I have a really strong history in retail right out of school and worked a lot of retail. And so IT can sometimes have a bad rap about engineers can be very particular. They can have really opinionated methods and ways. And I think marrying those two things together where you have technology, but also customer service is hugely important. And so I really saw an opportunity to help smaller organizations in Napa solve IT problems by leveraging the corporate experience I had at American Cancer Society, at AT&T, and really level up their game so they could move ahead. And I really enjoyed the wine industry because they were very slow on the uptick with technology. You don't, consider agriculture and farming to be on the cutting edge of technology, but I love those opportunities. I love when light bulbs come on in people's minds. I love when we can solve problems and people say, this is really useful. And the other thing is I love to follow up. Right? I want to deliver something and I want to make sure that the customers find that valuable. And so in 2008, founded SixNines and really started off doing on-prem managed services, but saw the value of the cloud. Why would customers want to run their own infrastructure, right? The analogy of utilities and power, like just rent it by the hour, let somebody else manage that. You focus on your core competencies as an organization. And that's really where the growth took off. And remember going to the first year of reInvent and just decided I must retire any on-prem type of service for the organization and transition to 100% cloud, which is exciting.
So you bring up a couple of key things here. First off, you built this business in 2008, where a lot of people were scared to death about what was happening with the market, the crash that we had gone through. And what made you just decide that was the right time for you to make this decision to invest in this startup?
So I had just relocated from Chicago to California. And so I really didn't have a job lined up. I was doing retail for Fans Edge at the time. I think it was called FanDuel, but it's really, if you buy sports apparel, they're the leading provider of that marketplace. And retail just tanked hard at that time. So relocated. So the timing was right. I think timing is a big component for things. On top of that, I just felt ready. in IT, you work a lot of long hours. I've spent, a lot of time overnight in data centers, and I was just ready to make those things pay off for myself and then anybody else in the organization, or, for the future, and then really bring the skills that I had honed and worked in corporate environments to people that could benefit from that, but didn't have the budget to have their own IT department or their own staff. And so it was a combination of just a hunger inside of being entrepreneurial, and then feeling like I had put in the amount of work and just experience to really make it pay off.
So early on in that process, you started out with offering on-prem solutions. That was de rigueur and people were used to it, but you pivoted toward kind of, this new technology, this new concept of putting everything into the cloud. Tell me how that came about and why you decided that that was the direction for SixNines IT.
I think some of that is probably my own personal experience and just dreading a hardware rollout overnight. And the technology works so well and provides such a great service that why would you want that hassle? And it was just clear to me that this is the direction that things were going to go for the long term. The benefit was clear, the costs made sense, and Amazon innovates at a pace that nobody's going to be able to keep up with. And so why wouldn't you do that? It just was clear as day to me that that's where things were gonna go.
So that created an opportunity then for you to see where your business could continue to grow, which is because of the platform improvements that we create, the new investment in new services. Your feeling was, what company can manage to all of those advancements on their own? And therefore, if you're helping them leverage it, you'll also be able to help them leverage the newer technologies that you're going to constantly invest your team in. Is that right?
Absolutely. And the other thing is, there's a challenge in new things, right? And so personally, I like to figure out new things. I like to understand how things work. I think a lot of people like to remain, stagnant or status quo, but it's really exciting to leverage new technologies. It's really exciting to solve new problems. And this drives that behavior like no other technology we've seen. And it's just invigorating to see all the changes, all the positive changes of what the cloud brought. And so that was just really, really attractive to me. And it continues. I mean, the pace is unbelievable. I really feel like we're at the early stages, especially at the enterprise and some of the much more established large businesses. And so it just scratches an itch, and the people on the team have that hunger, have that motivation, and it works really well. We just like to be at the forefront, and not only do we like to do hard things, we like to break things and then fix them so they're running better moving forward.
So, so with you setting yourself up as a Amazon shop, you've probably been asked, hey, what is your superpower? What do you want to lead with, or what do you want to be recognized for? So things have changed quite a bit in the 10, 12 years that you have been doing this.
Yes.
What do you consider to be your superpower?
So our superpower is really helping companies ship something new, whether that be a physical asset such as an airplane wing, whether it be a new digital technology such as a game. But our focus revolves around what the companies are doing that we partner with for the long-term future in forms of product. And so our experience with the platform lends a lot to table stakes, right? Migrations, DevOps, optimizations, governance, and security. So those are all things that you must think about. The shared responsibility model really forces you to think about that decision. And we bring a strong practice around those foundational items. But where we're really helping our customers is when they have a massive initiative where they need to essentially generate some new revenue source or new product that's going to last 5, 10, 15 years into the future.
Okay. And so when you identify those particular opportunities, What's the engagement like? How do you initiate that discussion, or how do you find those opportunities? And how does that distinguish you from other partners that are out there?
So we have a couple ways that we identify and cater to finding those opportunities. One is with a product that we've developed that is studio in the cloud. And this works for gaming studios. It works for media and entertainment. It works for really anybody who's looking to do something creative that needs a remote desktop, a shared fast storage system, and capabilities to burst render or utilize a large grid or distributed computing system. And this is all deployed and running on AWS. It leverages some of the DCV technology. It leverages the ThinkBox engine. It integrates with common tools like Unreal Engine, some of the Adobe products. And so it's a really, really good repeatable solution for creatives to leverage when they want to create content faster. And so that has really created a lot of opportunity for us. In fact, during the pandemic, unfortunately, nobody wants to say, oh, thank God, the pandemic happened and we can all work from home. I think everybody wishes that didn't happen, but we developed this solution 2 to 3 years ago. And so during the pandemic, our growth accelerated because of that solution that was deployed on AWS. The appetite for remote work, for people working from anywhere, is not going anywhere. And so we've really been honing in, how can we make this better? How can customers leverage it more? And I think really listening to that customer journey and making sure that they find it valuable, again, checking in with the customer. It's such a simple thing to do, but it's so critical when you're talking about services or delivering solutions, that's really what propelled us to invest in that product.
Can you give me an example of the kind of industry that would leverage studio in the cloud? You mentioned creatives. I'm curious to know what you mean by creatives.
So anybody like artists for a gaming studio, or a virtual effects artist, an administrator or a director level person that needs to make sure that his staff is productive, that needs to meet a deadline. We want to make sure that those artists get the resources they need to focus and do their job from anywhere.
Okay. And so those types of industries can be manufacturing industries, they can be
Absolutely.
retail, they can be, filmmaking. There's a lot of different resources that require some of this high performance computing in the cloud. Is that right?
Absolutely. So somebody looking to design a new computer chip, for instance, will need to do some type of computer aided design. They'll need to do some simulations. This solution works for that industry. An artist making a new game, they need to draw a new character or landscapes. Depending on the software, they may need to render that out. You also need to share that with other teams or collaborate with other people. So sharing it via the cloud is easy. You layer in all the benefits of automation, easy backup, extremely scalable storage, and essentially infinite compute power, and new SKUs that you can get 6 months down the road, a year down the road, and just leverage that without making an investment is a huge benefit. It's really targeted for studios and games, but manufacturing, a lot of organizations can leverage this technology.
So the technology sounds fantastic. You've actually created a way to engage with customers that are looking to solve these challenges. I mean, that's the key, is you've created something that solves a lot of challenges and it crosses multiple industries. So you've got a lot of places to play. The challenge, though, is getting the resources and the team put together to go out and capture some of that opportunity. And so, because I like to drill into a little bit of the leadership aspect of managing these partners, how do you go about finding the talent to keep building these solutions and then going out and leveraging those solutions to capture the opportunity that's out there?
I learned pretty early on with SixNines that it's going to take a team. I have strengths, I have weaknesses. And so for recruiting, for running teams, I really rely on the team that I partner with and work with internally to make those things happen. And so I'm very capable talking about technology. At one point, I was capable of delivering technology, but our engineers, our sales team, our marketing teams, they're so much stronger than I am individually. And so giving them that opportunity, letting them focus, giving clear direction and initiatives and objectives is hugely critical in executing. So, we obviously have specific targets. We also want to make sure that our culture really scratches the itch for all of those on the team. So transparency is a big initiative for us. Continuous learning, ability to level up your career. Those are all things that we really focus on and advocate for. I spent the last couple of days talking to new engineers that are on the team, and I really think our team's done a great job with hiring a diverse class of people, right? We have people from different backgrounds. We have people from different cultures, and all of those things lend to just a healthy environment and how we're able to find and retain just leading talent.
You do bring up a great point around having diversity in your culture. The reality is we are dealing with so many more opportunities globally because of what has happened with COVID-19. People are more willing to conduct business over a 32-inch monitor and a Zoom call.
Yes.
And what we're finding is that having a diverse background within an organization allows you to have more conversations with more customers across more categories than if you were more homogeneous in nature. And I believe that the opportunity that you're creating is for more people to feel included in some of the opportunity that the organization is uncovering. And so the question that I've got is, how do you go and empower your team to feel like they are included in some of the decisions that the organization is making for the future of the company?
So I think it's about opportunity, funding to an extent, and then follow through and execution. Unless there's actually momentum and you're following through with plans and support, I just think it's pretty empty. And so the teams are really enabled. The transparency lends to that, right? What do you want to do? We have a fairly open door and kind of flat organization. So anybody can reach out. We want to make sure that if people have initiatives or good ideas, that there's a forum and a platform for them to use internally. So a lot of this is driven organically through the organization. And I think that's a huge benefit. And then to your point on diversity and different perspectives, the realization for us was that if we're going to really cater to everybody, and it doesn't matter what background or industry, we're just looking for people that are hungry, passionate about talking to customers, delivering solutions, but training and really making sure that they understand the values of the organization is hugely critical. And I know we have a lot of work to do with formalizing some training plans and those types of things, but those are where we want to invest. We want to make sure that we can accelerate somebody from, let's say, a culinary background or a construction background. There's a lot of people out there that just love technology. We want to give them opportunities to shine.
So that's interesting, because some people deselect themselves because they don't feel like they've got the background that is a perfect match. And I don't know that there's any such thing as a perfect match. And yet there is a feeling that you have to be a perfect match in order, stars have to be in alignment. How do you feel about taking talent that isn't, I would call it non-traditional, and helping them apply their other skills and become part of your organization while you help them with some of the technical aspects that that they're going to need? How's that work for SixNines?
For me, it's opportunity. If people are given the opportunity, if they have the support system, if you talk to them one-on-one and understand personal goals, where they want to go, what's their background, and really just align and have just heart-to-heart discussions with people, you can do so much. It doesn't matter if somebody's not there today. Everybody knows that. Everybody's working towards progressing and moving them to that point. And really just having those discussions is the number one thing to me. Without that, without those relationships and alignment on what people want to do and what's realistic, none of this would work.
So you're talking about igniting passion within your team and giving them the ownership of their own trajectory. And so
Absolutely.
giving them a feeling that, listen, they come to the table with a set of skills that makes them valuable. That's the beginning, but it doesn't end there. So you're looking to them to take the passion that they have for what they're doing every day and
Yep.
getting them to also apply that passion toward solving other challenges and new things, and getting it in front of you as the leader for your support and maybe moving it forward. In a flat organization, there's a challenge with that because they would come to you all the time. How do
Yes.
you give them ownership to take on leadership roles without having them actually have the title?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. And as you scale and as you add management and teams, right, it becomes even more challenging. And I think one tactic that we leverage is open door policy. Anytime you have an idea, we want to make sure that you realistically can voice that. You can have a forum. We want to put our people on the stage, right? We want them to share the awesome things that they've been working on. So really that environment of, yes, there's a hierarchy as far as, ICs and management team, and here's how you go about, your HR management routine. Nobody at SixNines is above what I call taking out the trash, myself included. We're all going to work hard. We're all going to rally around a common cause, and we're all going to support each other in that. And so I think that understanding and that culture allows for people to feel really comfortable to talk about, oh, I think we could do this better. It may be, a sacred thing in the org, but if you have a great idea, we want to hear about it, and we don't want to prevent that from happening.
What are some of the tools and the mechanisms that you use to capture these great ideas and then to build them up? I think some of the difficulty with getting a great idea out of somebody's head is getting them to get past the fear of judgment, right? Their lizard brain is going crazy trying to avoid being ostracized because, oh, maybe their idea is not great. So they stop. And what do you do as far as mechanisms to take the idea, which may not be fully formed, and then doing something with it where that person doesn't feel like if they don't have it fully fleshed out, they don't bring it to the table?
Yeah, I think that's really in trust. I really feel that you have to create an environment where people are comfortable taking the plunge. And so relating or telling your own story, right? You're in an organization where, look, we've tried to do so many things throughout the years and haven't made it. So I think a lot of the fear is fear of failure.
Yeah.
Right. Some people don't want to bring something that doesn't work out, or, a lot of people invested in it doesn't work out. And maybe that people are scared of that. That happens, right? We're all human. Nobody's perfect. We would much rather somebody bring something to the table and it not work out, or really explore some things and say, great idea, but I don't know if it would fit, or this is a great idea, let's really invest. But if we don't allow our people to do that, we're never going to hear of the great ideas. So for me, it's trust. It's a lot of storytelling from me or other people in the team about similar experiences, and really accountability, right?
Yeah.
I can tell so many stories of blunders or screw ups that I've made. And so I really want people to understand, you know, the fear is healthy, right? There's a reason people may not want to do that, but it's okay. We're here to support and we actually advocate. And so just proving that through action, I think is the best way to handle it.
I love that. I think you threw out a word that really resonates with me, that vulnerability. You know, there's this mentality in some circles where you can never admit that you don't know everything. And
Yeah.
people will, you know, brush that off and say, oh, that's not true. But in reality, it is true. You posture in such a way that you're a different person as a leader of an organization than you are at home or with your friends.
Yep.
And if you are able to share a little bit of vulnerability, you don't have to be two different people. You can be the same person and follow a particular path that can lead to success. And people will resonate with that, and they will you know, gravitate toward you. As a leader of an organization, you guys, what's that again?
People are at their best when they're themselves.
Yes.
So why would we want to constrict or not allow people to be their own selves or their own ideas? I want that to flourish in the organization. There's nothing better when people are quirky or have opinions. Let's chat about it. We have to run a business, right? And
Sure.
certain things we can't do, but people are at their best when they're themselves, and people need to be themselves more.
So, as the leader, how do you encourage creative thinking within your organization?
So the team has put a lot of thought around this, right? And so we're an organization that makes money through billable hours, essentially, in solutions. And so a lot of time is spent with working on behalf of customers. But we want to carve out a certain amount of time so people can focus on side projects or really lend to how could we solve this problem better, put on your, you know, thinking hat and creative hat. So just where the rubber meets the road as far as day-to-day activities and you know, day jobs are concerned, we want to allow people to focus on that. We also want to be really cognizant in IT and engineering, and this industry moves so fast that you can quickly become overloaded. A project deliverable could be really aggressive. Customers could be very demanding of time. And so we want to also make sure that if there's a big push or you know, deadlines to meet, that we can free people's time up to focus on themselves, which inherently lets them focus on other things that aren't just core to the organization.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love that idea. And that encouragement is needed. Being aware of the challenges that just working can create, you know, let people blow off some steam.
Absolutely.
And also approach, you know, aspects of their role that isn't necessarily their job, but things that they would like to grow into. What are you doing to encourage yourself to continue to grow as a leader? How do you do that?
So I just love it. I love solving new problems. That's just how my brain is wired. I know running an organization at our size is vastly different than running an organization of 1,000, 10,000 plus people. And so I'm just really excited for the future. Solving those problems, solving new challenges is really just what I like to do. And so I think it's just extremely invigorating to have new challenges pop up, steering the organization towards the hyper growth with the employees, recruiting. I didn't run recruiting or, you know, a huge organization in my past. And so I think it's just really exciting to do that. I always lean towards, okay, guiding principles and foundations, right? Transparency, trust, vulnerability. I haven't done all this before. I'm going to need some people that are really good in bringing them in, bringing in advisors. All of those things are really exciting. And honestly, that's just how my brain is wired. I really like solving new problems. I like problems I haven't seen before and being able to solve them. Honestly, I kind of get bored if that's not happening. So,
you know, it's funny.
I just naturally create that for the org. So,
you know, some people say that and you're just like, does he really think that? when you say it, I feel it, because there's this light that shines, when you say it, solving these problems.
Yeah.
And we are in unprecedented times. We have just gone through 2 years that no company or no human has ever really gone through. And it continues. The minute you start to think that we've got a handle on COVID, there's a war going on in Europe, and it's just never ending.
Yeah.
And yet we still have to, the clock keeps ticking, the sun rises and sets. We have to figure out how to manage and solve these problems that are popping up. And the question that I've got for you is, when it comes to the cloud and SixNines, what do you think the future looks like for you and cloud adoption and the direction that you want to go?
I think the future is extremely bright, and we're at the beginning. We're still at the beginning. And to use an LP from Amazon, it's always day one. And it really is. I think that relates back to the previous discussion we had. It's invigorating. It's always day one. It's always solving something. Perfection will never happen. And so just kind of understanding that and taking stock in what's possible is extremely healthy. Where we're going is really leveraging the engineering team, leveraging our experience, and going much broader in our account base and growing the team. So I mentioned, growing from 10 people to 25 people to 50 people to over 100 people and 1,000 people is extremely challenging, but that's where we're headed. We're headed to a much larger organization that gives us much greater capabilities to serve. There's also investments we're making where we've solved a problem 50 times. Let's not just do that manually with human capital, so to speak. Let's invest in tools. So I'm really excited about the investment in solutions, repeat deployment methodologies, really focusing on some specific industries and verticals. And the enterprise is just now adopting the cloud, and that's an area where we execute well. So for the next 10 plus years, 20 years, I don't see the growth slowing down at all. And those are going to be some really interesting, gnarly type workloads where we're going to have to change, the minds of some people. We're really going to have to show people the light. Early in my career, we worked for Cadence Design Systems, and Cadence is an EDA, a semiconductor software automation company. And if I thought farming was stodgy, these technologies are 30 years old. They use, stuff that I programmed on IRC like 20 or 30 years ago as far as bots are concerned. But I loved getting in a room with an enterprise, really just an enterprise review, and drawing up the Amazon chart on, well, this is how your environment will look in Amazon. A VPC is like a VLAN. This shared storage is like a NetApp. And then people just bobbing their heads up and down. You could just see the light bulbs coming off. So I'm most excited for light bulbs coming off with a lot more people. And I know we're going to have so many more opportunities to do that.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. So you threw out a number of good words, investing in solutions, industries, so verticalization.
Yep.
I think as an organization matures, that is absolutely the compartmentalization that you want to deliver so that you can go broad as the services expand. And so that's one of the great opportunities that our partners have, is this long future that they have, being able to bring newer and newer services to their partners. And I do believe that the partner world and leveraging partners will be how many of these companies will get to the cloud. As an AWS sales organization, we can't grow fast enough in order to capture all that. Our partners have those relationships. So we really appreciate your investment in that.
Absolutely.
Now there's a question that I'm asking some of my guests on this about what they do to manage their day-to-day stress. And one of the things I like to throw out is, I find some way to sweat every day. That's part of the do hard things methodology.
Yes.
What do you do to help you manage the stress, and how do you encourage your team to adopt the same thing?
So I'm all about doing the sweat routine, getting outside. We're all remote, so joining up in person more often, I think, is great. One thing that I like to do personally, and it's not hard, but I love cooking. I like to, I have a big green egg, so I like to fire that up and kind of let my mind wander on recipes and things like that. And now that travel's picked back up, I like to travel and go out and see. Again, I'm not necessarily doing the hard work in this instance, but if you go to some really nice restaurants, you can just tell that they've put in so much effort and energy. It's just, I have such respect for other industries. And so really kind of getting outside technology is what I like to do to
take a break. Yeah. I think it's funny that you say it's not hard to cook. I've destroyed a number of things in my journey to become a backyard griller. And Danny will let me know how to fix a recipe on the pellet grill. I've destroyed wings and chicken and steaks just by doing a bad job preparing the meat. There's a lot more to it than just putting the heat on and the temperature and seeing what happens at the end of the hour or so.
Oh yeah, and you can go deep too, right? Like you want to brine the chicken, and here's all the different stuff that you use and for how long and what's the ratio. And
I tell you what,
really cool.
Yeah, it is calming because you are really having to pay attention. I spatchcocked a chicken for the first time in my life, and it came out glorious.
Nice.
So, new things. I'm excited to do that. Well, listen, Jason, I want to spend some more time talking with you, and we are going to set up another episode. I want to know more about what you're doing and some of the solutions that you're putting together, and how it's helping to build culture and community with your customers and your employees as well. And we also have a tech view that I would love to have our solution architects kind of talk about deploying maybe the studio in the cloud. What are the best practices to leverage with that? And then, of course, a POV where our sales organization can know a little bit more about how and why and what is SixNines superpower with their customers. Until then, I want to thank you for joining us on this session. And I really do appreciate catching up with you. I'm closer to you now. I live in Arizona, so not too far across the border from you.
Yeah, and we'll have to get together for sure and test out some of these cooking things and maybe drink some wine or beer or otherwise too. So I'm happy
to do all of the above. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much for joining. Daniel, thanks for setting this up. Anthony, thanks for joining us. And we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So